As you can probably see, I have shit everywhere, but that's not going to stop me from banging out this last video for the Beginner Hunter series. You've picked your rifle and you want to put an optic on it. So what do you do? What optic do you go with? There's so many out there, and this is one of the top questions that I get in all my socials, and also this is one of the top questions that the gun shop gets, is what optic do I put on my rifle? Now, when this question is asked, it all comes down to what is the rifle and how are you using it? This has been a recurring theme where, it all comes down to how you're using it. I've got a few that we're going to list off, and I'll just give you, broad brush, the type of optic and what it's best to use for. The first one is not something that people actually think about that often, and that's iron sights. I am a massive fan of iron sights. I didn't have an optic on any of my rifles for many, many years. My first rifle was a sporterized BSA 303, and I just had iron sights on that. I'm a massive fan of iron sights, and I think that people way too heavily on optics more than they should. If you can shoot with irons, then you then know you can actually shoot, and it's not just the weapon helping you. One thing that optics have, if you don't know how to shoot, let's say it's a 4x zoom. It's not going to make you 4 times better at shooting. It's going to amplify poor shooting by 4. And that's a good way to think about it. If you already don't know how to shoot accurately, maybe come down to the basics and then build up to getting an optic. But if you are just going to run irons, anything sort of stalking, anything driven, hound hunting, anything up and close, anything, for most people, anything under 100 meters would be perfectly fine to use your iron sights. Now, in line with iron sights, some people find it a bit hard to line two things up and then line onto a target. So that's why we have red dots, and red dots are a hell of a lot quicker. They're awesome for anything out to about 100 meters. A lot of people can shoot them further than 100 meters, but for most people, sitting around 100, where it's no magnification, it's just a projected red dot, and then you would place that onto the target, and you're going to hit the target. So red dots are awesome for anything up nice and close. Red dots are really good for pump actions, lever actions. You can put them onto your bolt actions, but most of the time when people have a bolt action, they also want to be able to stretch it out a little bit further as well, which will lead us into the next one, being a low power variable optic. It has the benefit of zoomed all the way out. It's 1 power, so there's no magnification, so it is essentially a red dot. Usually they're going to have an illuminated component within them. So it's essentially you have a red dot, and then you have the ability to zoom that sight in if you do want to shoot a little bit further. Usually, depending on the price you want to pay, depends on the zoom range you normally get. Common ones would be 1 to 4, 1 to 6, and 1 to 8, although they do have some that go up from 1 to 10. They're generally very, very expensive high-end ones. That's what I use on my stalking rifle. I have what are we on there in a moment? Strike Eagle 1 to 8. Awesome sight. Gives me the benefit of, I always walk around with it zoomed out, so it's on 1 power. I walk around, I use it like it's a red dot. But then if I see something that's a little bit further away that I'd not feel comfortable taking a shot on, at 1 power, I can then crank up my zoom, take a shot. The next thing is probably the most common for a hunting rifle, and that would be your zoomed optics. Now, the two most common zoom ranges are going to be your 3 to 9 and then your 4 to 12. 3 to 9, I would say, would be the better of the two. The reason being, on 3 power, it's not so zoomed in that if something was to come up quickly and fairly close at under 100, it's not that hard to find the target. One thing I've found, like the higher your bottom end is, so up to like 5s, 6s, etc., it can be very, very hard to find the target in the sight because you're zoomed in too far. The top end, a lot of people get really wrapped up, especially with hunting, because I think a lot of people sort of see a lot of PRS, Precision Rifle Series stuff, where they've got up to 25 power. But you've got to remember the size of the things these guys are shooting. Like, they might be shooting a plate that's that big at 1,000 meters. The kill zone on a deer is about that, all right? And you're shooting that generally up to about 500 or 600 meters. Not very many people, especially if you're a beginner, are going to be shooting game animals further away. There are also a lot of people who frown on that, saying that, you know, it's not sportsmanlike. Each to their own. If you want to shoot 1,000 meters and kill a deer, by all means, go and do it. But for, you know, average hunting ranges, let's say 600 meters and under, you don't need that much magnification. So yeah, 3 to 9, 4 to 12, stick around there and you'll be fine. Now, when you're looking at these type of optics, you're gonna have to ask yourself, do you want second focal plane or first focal plane? This is a very big debate. This is like AFL versus NRL in Australia. Some people love second focal plane, but all the first focal plane will say that they're wrong and vice versa. So I'm gonna weigh in with my 2 cents. I've used both a lot, and my opinion is formulated by my experience, and my opinion is that I would prefer second focal plane for hunting. All right, so let's just say you've got a 4 to 12. At 4 power, the center part, the reticle itself is so fine and so small that you cannot see it in amongst the bush and the trees. So if something comes up, you'll bring your rifle up and you will completely lose your reticle and you will not be able to shoot the target. If you try to shoot, you will miss. I have had this happen to me so many times where either I couldn't fire because I couldn't find my reticle, or I thought I'd found my reticle, fired, and completely missed because it's so blurry and it's just not very good. If you do want to go the route of first focal plane optics, you are probably doing more long range shooting where you don't intend to ever shoot it at its minimum magnification, where, you know, if you're shooting it at 12, you're probably going to be zoomed in all the way when you're doing that. So for that reason, that's why I don't think it's a very good hunting optic unless you're, you know, as I said, only doing that. On second focal plane, the reticle itself is usually fairly simple, and it doesn't change size no matter what range you're at. Now, the problem with that is, you know, if you're zoomed out at 3, if it does have aim offs, those do not sub 10 correctly. So therefore, you know, it might be 5 MOA down, but that is graded at its max magnification. So it might be 5 MOA at 9 power, but at 3 power, it's not. So if you're going to use that, and you want to use the aim offs, you may have to do up yourself a data card that pre-sub-10s that for you. My suggestion would be just get something very simple, something with a cross in it. Even if the turrets are capped or not capped, you can then actually dial the top to move that cross within your sight. So you might have it zeroed for 200 meters. I'm just rolling this off the top of my head because this is what my 7mm Rem mag is. The cross is zeroed for 200 meters, and you go at, you know, 250, it's this many clicks. At 300, it's this many clicks. And then I can literally just turn the top turret and go, you know, might be 10 clicks. And now I'm at that exact range. All I need to do is put the cross back on the target and fire, and I'm going to hit the target. The downside to that is you're going to have to know the range to the target. But then again, if you're using aim offs within your reticle itself, you're going to have to know the range to the target anyway as well. There's that. There's just the little things to think about. Now, what I personally do with all my optics is I have a point blank zero. So it means that I can aim just my cross directly on the target out to a certain range, and I know that my bullet will still fall within the vital zones of the animal. If you want to learn more about that, I have 2 videos, which is Point Blank Zero for Dummies. They're in this playlist, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, click on those, and that will help you out if you're a new hunter and you don't really understand what I'm talking about. Those videos will explain it all for you. It's the best zero that you can do for a hunting rifle, and it will make your life so much easier. Look, I know I didn't really give you the answers that you want. I know I didn't really go like, you need to buy a red dot from Aimpoint, or a low power variable from Vortex, or a 3 to 9 from Loophole, and give you the model numbers and all that, because it's not that easy. It's up to you. It depends on the weapon you have, the style of hunting you want to do, and what sort of optic you want, essentially. Do you feel comfortable using a red dot with no magnification? Do you want magnification? These are just my recommendations, the things to think about, and hopefully that does help you to make your informed decision, and then you can get out there into the wilderness and do some hunting, because that's what we're here to do, isn't it? Well, thanks for watching. Once again, I hope you got something out of that, and please hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Hooroo.